Number 2, he says cooperation is better than competition. When you look at the rat race we are in, okay, bear this in mind, cooperation is better than competition. So do you look at verse 9 to 12, it makes sense now, okay? Look at verse 9 to 12. 2 are better than 1 because they have a good return for their work, etc. Cooperation is all about being together rather than being apart, isn't it? The whole series there. This passage is not dealing with free enterprise, okay, but the focus is on one-to-one rivalries. I'm not saying, therefore, that we cannot have competition in the marketplace. I'm not saying that we're talking about one-on-one rivalries here. That's the context of it, okay? Not about whether we can have free enterprise or not, you know. Now, in the community, the wise man observed this. He says, cooperation is better than competition. And let me outline for you. It is better in 4 ways. Okay? Just very quickly put that down for you and illustrate for you. Number 1, he says, if you cooperate, it's better because in the area of work. Okay? Number 1, in work, it is better. Look at verse 9. He says what? They have a good return for their work. 2 is better than 1. They have a good return for their work. Now, cooperation helps us to make up for each other's strengths and weaknesses. Don't you agree? In any organizational setup, you'll find this to be true. We make up for each other's strengths and weaknesses. Even in marriage, that is true. For example, my wife and I, we have complete opposite inclination. When it comes to strengths and weaknesses, opposite attracts, literally. We are all very different. I'm the one who likes to talk. She's the one that prefers to listen. Thank God for that. If not, we'll all be talking at the same time, I'm the one who tells the jokes, and she's the one who laughs, or supposed to laugh. Okay? She's the one who loves to serve. I'm the one who loves to be served, So that's why I always say we have good teamwork. I'm the team, she's the work. So we make good teamwork, Cooperation, we make good team. When it comes to work, it's better if we cooperate. So don't fight, Don't fight with your colleague. Cooperate with your colleague. Isn't it? Isn't that better? Don't compete with your colleague. Work with them. Cooperate with them. You'll find that it's better. Falls down, his friend can help him up. Cooperation brings mutual support. Isn't that true? I tell you, friendship is so important. It's good to have somebody by your side. One day, it was so vividly illustrated to me. I was sitting outside the Orchard Road MRT station and busy, Saturday afternoon, so people getting off work, and the MRT station was full of people in and out, in and out. And then, so sitting there waiting for a friend, I saw this lady came out of the MRT station, and man, she was immaculately dressed, really, the kind of power dressing kind, with tight skirt and this vest and all the kind of power dressing, with carry the kind of briefcase, solid one. And she, high heel shoe and all that. And she was coming out of the MRT station, and caught my eye because she got the kind of power walk, the power walk, the kind, real power walk thing. Oh, I was impressed. And then I was looking, wow, impressive, huh? And then the unthinkable thing happened. Because her high heel shoes got caught in the iron gratings, the drain thing, and then broke, And then she fell, collapsed, boom, she fell down. And I tell everybody turn and look, but I noticed something, she immediately jumped up, without even checking whether got injuries or not, just grab everything, quickly rush into the MRT and disappear in the crowd. Then I sat there and a thought struck me, and the thought was this: what a difference it would have made if she had a friend with him. The whole scenario would have been different. Imagine now, okay? Power walk. But now got friend, power walk got friend. And then she fell down. Guess what will happen? The friend will help her up. They'll probably pick up her things, and then they'll probably have a good laugh, because it's funny, they'll laugh, and then they just pick everything up, and then she will continue. You see the difference in the whole thing? If you had no friend and you fall down, very embarrassed, But if you got somebody there, you fell down, things happen, it's okay. There's somebody who is there with you and it supports you. And then it began to make a lot of sense to me. This verse makes a lot of sense. If one falls down, another guy can pick him up. Number 3, he says, in the area of comfort, cooperation is better than competition. Verse 11, he says, also, if 2 lie down together, they can keep warm. But how can one keep warm alone? Makes a lot of sense again. The Bible is so practical. Have you ever been in a situation where you are so cold, you wish that you got somebody to hug, somebody to hold on to? Have you? I have. And I tell you, it makes it so real to me. Some years ago, I went to climb Gunung Tahan, West Malaysia, highest mountain, and the final night before we ascended the peak of Gunung Tahan, it was terrible because that night we had to arrive at a place called the Padang, which is the wide open field in a valley just before the peak. I mean, we couldn't make it up there that night, so we got to camp in the Padang. Wide open space, wind blowing through the tunnel, and it happened to be raining cats and dogs that night. It was so cold, it's incredible. We cannot even pitch our tents properly, just keep flying away. We cannot start a fire, we cannot cook, and it was so cold. And everything we had was completely wet, and the wind was howling, our clothes were wet, and the rain was pouring. There's nothing we could do to alleviate the cold. We cannot even light a fire, because of the rain and the wind. And I tell you, that night was one of the coldest and most miserable night I ever experienced. But we've discovered the only thing we have to keep warm and to sustain us through that night was one another. So we literally huddle up to each other, borrow warmth from each other's body. Now, after that experience, I deeply understood verse 11. If two lie down together, they will keep warm. How can one keep warm alone? True or not? Absolutely true. And I tell you in life, ladies and gentlemen, the greatest coldness that we can face sometimes is not just physical, but they can be emotional. Isn't it right? When you're physically cold, at least you can put on more clothes or just have a cup of hot coffee. There are many people who suffer not just physical coldness. There are countless numbers who are living in deep emotional coldness. Many, many lonely people, waiting for someone to just be able to spend time with them. Give them warmth emotionally. There are so many people in our world today, in our nation that we live in, even though we are so crowded, there are many lonely people out there crying out for a friend, estranged from their family, their loved ones, and feeling neglected and forgotten. And one of the best things we can do is listen to what these wise men say. Cooperation is better than competition. Don't compete. There's so many people out there who are looking for friends, not competitors. Here's one more. He says in protection. That's good, Though one may be overpowered, two can defend themselves. You been to church camp before? If you ever been to a church camp, one of the most common things we said to our young people, especially if they go to a camp, and one of the instructions we often give them, especially the girls, is this. We always say to them, if you need to go to the toilet at night, always bring another person with you. Don't go alone. Is that right? Why do we do that? Basically because we all know that this world can still at times be very unfriendly. It can still be a very treacherous place, fraught with danger. Walking alone, one can be overwhelmed. But if there's somebody else, you can protect each other. That's what the wise man is saying. And when it comes to living together, cooperation is always better than competition. So rather than to scheme and plot against one another, let's help each other to be the best that we can be. That's the wise man's advice to community living. I give you this Swedish motto that goes like this. Shared joy is double joy. Shared sorrow is half a sorrow. Makes a lot of sense, Shared joy is double joy. If I have something really happy, I come and share with you. What do we have in the end? Two happy person. Now my joy has been multiplied, Shared joy is double joy. If I have a sorrow, a burden, I come to Pastor Patrick, I unload it on him. What has happened? He's going to walk out bearing part of my burden, and I'm going to walk out having a little less. So shared sorrow becomes what? Half a sorrow. We space it out, okay? Fair. This is life. We need to understand this. And then we live with cooperation rather than competition. Shared joy is double joy. Shared sorrow, half a sorrow. And in this rat race, individualistic society, let us choose to be different, brothers and sisters. Let's choose to be different. Cooperate rather than compete. Let's help one another find our fullest potential in Jesus Christ. In a society where everybody is looking out for number one, which is basically themselves, we need to choose to be different. And I honestly believe that this world is not looking for competitors. We got enough already. They are looking for friends. That's what they're looking for. And that's why there's a song by Paul Simon written in the 60s, that shoot to the top of the charts, and remain there for a long, long time. Because he gave them a song where the people of that rat race generation was able to sing with all their hearts. And I like that song also. The second verse of the song, I put it into your notes for you, goes like this. When you're down and out and when you're on the street, when evening falls so hard, it says, I will comfort you, I will take your part. Oh, when darkness comes and pain is all around, like a bridge over troubled waters, I will lay me down. This is an old song that people, not my generation, maybe a little older than me, will understand. When they say, like a bridge over troubled waters, I will lay me down. And I want you to notice the song says, I will lay me down. In other words, I will be your bridge. Step on me. When you need to, when you have troubled times, just step on me. Get over your tough times. You can go ahead and step on me. I'm totally committed to you. That's cooperation. And it's better than competition. That's wisdom, isn't it? I think that's very insightful.